you can use them as levers and move him. Again, as you saw with the kicking.
Good morning guys, and welcome to today's vlog. Today brings us to Milton Keynes Museum, more specifically a history weekend. It's like a plethora of tented communities from different eras, from your Suffragettes, your First, Second World War, Napoleonic, Roman, Saxon, Viking even. Should be interested. Anyway guys, let's go and do this. The Suffragette movement.
We can look back at it, or maybe they would have made the right decision, it wouldn't have been the same one, but that's a different story.
Deeds, not words. It's an oldie-woldy era. Fits pretty much with modern day, but back then it must have been horrifying because they were beaten with clubs and all sorts. It's like Glastonbury meets history. Over there you've got Redcoats, so that era would have been 18th century. Pretty known for our battles. We lost the American Revolution, or the War of Independence, against George Washington and his troops, yet we beat Napoleon. The rifles there are Brown Bess, so they have got what looks like, some have got flintlock, some have got possibly matchlock, which is like an after effect after that, was like a wick. Stunning uniforms. And this is sort of like the era where I've mentioned before in other vlogs, like Sharp, Sean Bean, that character, he was like a mercenary in that era. Kind of a blacksmith's era. This would be where they'll make probably their swords, probably melt down. Looks like I've got a mechanism over there for making shot for the guns, etc. The bullets. This little sign here that says 1774. One side's got a ball, the other side's got a cock, so the cock and ball from Stony Stratford. Seriously old times. A lot of your flintlocks, blunderbuss there in the middle. A lot of these weapons I've got at home on the walls, pretty much down to what my father produced. They are Brown Bess. Sort of a mix-up of history. I've got this going on in front of me with the Civil War, etc. And behind me they're just starting a Roman display.
The Roman army was made up of Roman legionaries.
So we've now got a Roman reenactment.
And also auxiliaries. So the Roman legionaries, probably what you imagine.
Obviously this era, I keep saying this area, was obviously dominated by Romans in the early settlement areas. There is an area at the back there, Blue Bridge, Brinklow area, have Roman settlements, but it was of course Boudica, some people turn around and said Boadicea, who had the notorious battle with these guys at Cuttle Mill, pretty much about 5 miles down the road between here and Toaster. Her and our Ancini tribe had gone, wiped out pretty much the Roman forces in the area. The Romans met head on with her at Cuttle Mill, and she was mortally wounded, and that was the end of her.
That end would have been used to take out your opponent. That end would have punctured a shield and gone straight through, and potentially even straight through into the enemy's arm.
Pretty detailed armour they're wearing, and it actually looks like the real stuff. The problem you get with some of these reenactments, they use knitted string, but that looks like proper chainmail.
The most important and rich members of society. For the Roman army, everyone would have had armor on. So our legionary here is wearing the lorica segmentata, also known as the tin can slinky.
So this is your War of the Roses setup. You've got longbows, axe, pike, bassinet, always thought these little shields here are weird, but you could actually give someone a decent belt with that. And these guys, as this lovely chap here has turned around and said, they were mercenaries, come over fighting through from Italy, France, and then they joined whoever had given the best payment, regardless of who it was.
As you can see, it's very difficult to get around that shield. I feel like I have no bondage and my shield is so tiny.
Cannon that'd be in full action later.
Whatever you had, mixed together and
So these guys come after the Battle of Hastings. This is sort of an era about 1204. Very much the Norman conquest era has taken place. And this is just an encampment of your medieval times. The old root vegetables, it's pretty much what they would have had. Everything then was probably a stew. Reached the era of the sealed knot, the Roundheads and Cavaliers. Got a little roast going there. Oh, you can smell that, it smells lovely. If you had scratch and sniff, this would be even better. And rub over that joint, slowly cooking away. How strong these are, you can actually stand on them. It's wonderful just seeing all the period costumes. Make a real effort. The old spinning wheel there. And the famous original concrete cows in the background. The ones that you see that in its Stacey Bushies are replicas of these guys. Roman encampment set up. These guys have just done their little display, as you see. Good thing about this is where it's set, you actually have obviously the Milton Keynes Museum to the side of it. We've got the history of time tunnels, there's old Anderson shelters, an old vehicle section over the back there. And it always helps when we've got a beautiful day.
Originally made by a gunsmith called Isaac Haynes in Lancaster County, Virginia in 1770. You could fire shot for small game, for pot. You could fire patched 50 caliber ball for big game and self-protection, and a patched 50 caliber ball up to about 70 yards is accurate as a weapon.
Does this give anyone the vibes of Pirates of the Caribbean? It's that sort of era.
Working with all their full gear with riches, but they've got the hats down. Some have got them all up still, but
Suppose for this you don't need a. Yeah. I always wonder how they made the anvil first.
well, on this
So how do
side,
you forge it without the anvil?
Well,
Just use a rock and start with it.
well, yeah, well, originally in the Iron Age, yeah.
Most of the children who were left in cold were left fatherless because some of them were deported, is not transported. Yeah. So they're transported to the colonies.
You can still
Normally what you cook on it is oatcakes, you know, bannocks, that
Yes,
sort of thing.
yeah.
But it's a frying surface.
Yeah, we were
Give it a go.
On the way to Saints.
These guys are from an era that sort of precedes when my dad was doing the medieval jousting. He went on to doing it with a great helm there, very similar
Yes, thank you.
in the Middle Ages, but these are sort of just after the Norman conquest.
Pretty high esteem.
These men are equipped with the latest technology of this time. They have tailored male shirts. He's wearing a male point. His face is protected. His helmet has a flattened top. What this does increases the distance between his skull and any blows coming from that angle, which is one of the most common striking angles.
Sorry, my lord. Oh.
Okay, gentlemen, you may lay on. Come on, Sir Nicholas!
Go on, Sir Sam!
Medium Sir Nicholas.
Do you support the knight in the blue circle or the red circle?
Ew!
Well done! Escalator.
That was a good push!
Oh, goodness! Both of you dead?
Kings, our encampment is over there. Spot the white, the blue and yellow bell tents, and also my white and blue tent. I'm pretty close.
I stand back and go, you do your... In fact, gunpowder making was one of the first timed processes. Because they had, I would watch my men using their stamp mills with an hourglass, tipping it over to make sure they're stamping at the right rates to combine, to incorporate the powder.
Pretty much your weapon and armour here at the Sealed Knot. Long gone is your chainmail, and they would have used breastplates and knees, arms, etc. And then they would have had a pike, a sword, the helm, etc. But pretty much moving on.
Anything on it, it's all bits of fence post, unfortunately.
Preparing their lunch right now.
Yeah.
Traditional methods.
So I've just seen it from the museum, yeah.
Well, a lot of you will know what happened in 1914, and so you'll be thinking there's going to be a big war coming. In fact, it's not very far away. But in truth, that is not the story that was in the news. People were not anticipating the outbreak of a big war. There were two stories in the news. The first was that the Home Rule Bill in Ireland was going through Parliament, that was just coming to its end. And that was the first attempt at trying to get devolution of government for Ireland. And the other story that was in the news would have been suffragettes. Ladies who were fed up of not being able to get the vote and who had taken to a more direct course of action to achieve it. Now also, if you were to go into a village hall or a theatre, you might have been treated to a display a bit like this one. So let me introduce to you.
Now, sir, come on. Out of the room, out of the room. Yes, little lady, chucking festivals everywhere. And she became known as the Jiu-Jitsu Suffragette. Now we have our Edith. Now, if our ruffian has a stick, where's the worst place for Edith to be? Yeah, under the end. Alright, so where does Edith need to be if she's attacked? Either not there, or she can use it to keep the distance, keep the ruffian at distance out there. Alright, so various different things. You'll note that she's not gone above the knee, really, because if you've got skirts on, you can't do big sort of weight utilism, boxing, at distance, and then finally, body to body, jiu-jitsu moves.
Sort of, but also fencing with the military safe, which is trained with these things called single sticks. And you know, there's an established kind of Victorian or Edwardian style. Counter-punching is very well thought of, so trying to drive your punch through the inside of the other person's punch to the face. You will. I'm doing the other way around. Shopping punches, so back fists, are still quite popular because they draw a lot of blood from the eyes.
Certain levers and moves that you can do. Do you think somebody as small as Edith Garrett would be able to do anything with a ruffian this big?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
She's very confident.
Yes.
She's a woman, that's
Suffragette
why.
was out on a protest. There was a chance that the police would try and arrest her, but the counter-protesters would try and stop them. So commonly, they would be grabbed. And it might be something as simple as being grabbed by the wrist. Now, there is a slight size difference here. I can't get away by pulling. But if I just twist my wrist, and that is a very simple technique that anyone can learn. All you need to do is push your hand over the top, and it breaks the wrist. Simple. Anyone gets together and twist. Excuse me? Help! Help! I'm being attacked! Top, underneath. Jolly educational. Sorry, have you washed There we go. Simple. Right up the middle. There we go. Be careful. Sorry, they wouldn't be so stupid. If I grab hold of the wrist and the elbow, that's good. And I'll put a nice lock there. That is only quite up the elbow. And this is called a figure four, because it looks like a figure four. There we go, big hands with hat pins. It's not like a headbutt. I've got heavy soled shoes. I can scrape my heel all the way down the shin and stand on the foot. Now, this has probably loosened his grip a little bit, but if he hasn't, I can simply raise my shoulders to loosen the grip a bit more. At this point, I stick my hips to one side, place my foot behind his legs, and just stand across into the stomach. Turn the arm over, get in position, and seesaw until he gives up. Do you give up? Alright.
Do it school level, risk assessment. Don't do this. Thank you very much. I have been asked to tell you that if you you were to leave us right now and head your way down to the arena, you would be lucky enough to see a medieval display in progress. So there will be big bangs.
It's the latest technology. We could actually move the gun around on the field and move it up and aiming and change the elevation so we can change where the ball's going to land. Beforehand it was in the ground, dug in, and it was just going to shoot one way all the time. Fire! And you put a wet mop down to try and ignition, to try and put any embers out. But you put a dry one down because water and powder is not a good combination. As you see, they're all muzzle loaders, so everything goes down the front of the muzzle. Obviously I put a little bit of, there'll be a little bit of wadding and well, a lead ball and then some more wadding. But obviously the problem of actually firing a lead ball out onto the public highway causes lots of pain. On your back. Smoke and soot and everything else, which is a bit of a bugger to clean. Oh, it's the archery and talk about that.
Down here you've got your archery, your longbows, etc. Crossbows, expecting them to be firing that shield over there in the background. Now something significant, I don't know whether you know, we're in a world now where everybody curses each other. And you've got the old two fingers. Now if you stick them that way, go like that to someone, everybody knows what it means. But the actual term comes from around the time of Agincourt. It was something that the British would do to the French as an insult to turn around and say they still had their fingers to pull the bow. And that's where it comes from.
Here we see the difference between a crossbow and a bow. We've been ready to shoot for many seconds now.
See that little hook bit at the front there? Looks like a horseshoe bit. You actually put your foot in that to load it as well. They would have actually said loose in the day.
Crossbows are more accurate. Right, 3 rounds rapid.
Loose.
There we go. The British archers were absolute experts at this.
No, I'm not going to get involved with the rapid because the longbows will beat me every time.
These would be accurate anywhere up and above 400 metres. Anything after that, it's just a case of it hits whatever's in its way. And at a racing level, the archers got a distinctive advantage. He can shoot maybe up to possibly 20 a minute. Obviously the guy with the longbow, he's struggling a bit with that today, but he could probably do half of that. And the gun, although more potent, takes a lot longer. It's going to currently go for what they call the King's Minute. It's try and shoot off 13 in a minute. As much as you think that's not being accurate, it's the general area. You're not turning around and saying there's one soldier facing you. You would have a whole line of French at the likes of Agincourt or Cressy.
Everything is that basic force, the string goes into it and it's still very deliberate. 7 up right. So
Obviously they're using blanks.
Every 7th rod is a twist.
You can imagine one of those goes over the back of that with a field tip on it, it will kill someone.
Well done. Good on you. The one with the two. Thank you. 30 minutes.
The armaments of the man of war. Even got a hand grenade there. Yep, hand grenades ain't a thing of the 20th century, long before that time. Obviously we were black powder, just a charge, throw it in the field and bang.
The woman you were talking to, Newton,
Yeah.
they've got a form to it. No one wants to work.
Time to get ice cream off Andy, Scooper Man. I don't know about you guys, I'm getting vibes of Titanic and the captain. He really does look like him. Sealed knot now taking their turn out on the amphitheatre area. Pretty much doing drilling as they call it. And that is a pike man. Not a fish, but that long pole is called a pike. It's the idea to keep the offensive troops at bay. They sort of hold it right at the other end and keep the opposition at arm's length at all point, and it's sort of like simple jabbing movements with it. Again, your muskets, these have now gone over from flintlock. Flintlock would still have been about, but a lot of these, as you can see there, they're matchlocks.
Silence! So if you can imagine, if we get attacked by cavalry, I would try to charge the whole. The drums and colours would go in the centre. It's a bit like the Westerners. They would form a circle. So you'd have pikemen, then musketeer, pikemen, musketeer, with the colours and the drums in the middle. And the officers and the actual NCOs would be on the outside of it. The force will attack.
So, that's 5,000 euro mark, but still.
March on. Jibs hand. Your left hand about face. Hold your pike. So I'm going to bring forward now probably the most exciting.
As I would have been at the start of the Civil War. So, I have a musket rest, which I shall show you later on. This very quickly disappeared. 2 reasons. One, it was useless. Second, it got in the way. As my officer said, we started out marching from our landowners' properties, so we marched on foot. I carried with me everything I needed belongings. I would have been issued with a pair of boots and a coat, and that would have been it from me. I was lucky, I am lucky, because I'm with musket. I was issued with a musket. Now, the musket, there was training, but there wasn't alongside my powder flask. So if I was in the day, I would have had a wooden powder flask about me. That's not safe. This is. So gunpowder into there. Close the pan. Blow off any coals or any gunpowder. And now cast the gun about. There would have been hundreds of people in rows and ranks, exactly the same as the pike. We had an officer as well that controlled us.
stuff. Yeah, we can walk past them. Just see.
Water outward face. Turn. Likely as a brown best musket, smooth bore. Okay, it was a standard British firearm at the time. It fires by a piece of flint into the metal, which ignites gunpowder, and that propels the bullet from the barrel. Yeah, it helps tell who's who. Anyone know why it was attached to the front of the rifle to engage the enemy in the hand-to-hand combat when we need to. Okay, that contains their ammunition. Their ammunition consists of paper tubes containing gunpowder and a lead ball. To be in the British Army, you needed at least 2 gun teeth, top and bottom, so you could fire the top of your cartridges out in your own time without waiting for it, and just wait at the end in order to fire. Priming and loading, you should be able, a trained soldier should be able to get up to 3 shots off in a minute. Start with the musket loaded, get 4 off, it's the first one to win. It's a far more accurate weapon for hunting, and the reason the armies generally didn't use them, so although they are more accurate, they take a lot to load.
There you go, blunderbuss. We've got one of those on the wall at home. Gorgeous bit of kit.
You may have seen if you're around today already. Cause problems. So there is usually a guard on the coat of the blunderbuss. And there. Yeah. The only problem with them. We are over there by the Union flag. If you want to come and speak to anyone or have a closer look at anything, come and see us. Thank you very much.
Anyway guys, that is going to do it for today. It was set out pretty well because in between little scenes there and the little sort of reenactments that you had a time to go and have a look around the museum itself. Rachel spent most of her time sitting outside, hence she looks like a lobster now, but it was good. I enjoyed it, hopefully Rachel did too, and so did you guys. Thanks so much for watching, catch you next time, see you in the movies, bye for now.